Clip today is going to be the Ramsey Show, the Dave Ramsey Show, but we're going to look at Ken Coleman and Jade Warshaw, and they're going to complain about Gen Z and why they're terrible.
Well, Jade, we saw this headline earlier this week from Yahoo, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. Here it is. Half of Gen Zers said they don't see a point in saving money until...
Yeah? Go for it.
You said this was Ken Coleman. This is Skippy.
Oh, that's not... You're right. This isn't Ken. This is
This is not Ken Coleman.
George Camel.
Yeah, George Camel, a.k.a. Skippy, as you like to call him.
Skippy.
Just so we're clear on who we're talking about, because I know our viewers are going to know this, and they're going to...
God. Okay. All right, so I had that wrong in the notes. So this is Skippy and Jade.
Things return to normal. Instead, they're investing in themselves.
George, you know I have thoughts on this.
That's why I brought it to you, Jade.
So many thoughts, so many...
So, they're referring to this article that half of the Gen Z kids coming out of COVID they're not really saving for retirement as much as they're investing sort of in themselves. Okay, and I actually have the article, we can look at it, but essentially what they're talking about, one, they're visiting family, or they're traveling. Some of that is that. Some of it is they're spending their money on, now they're saying, oh, well, I want to start a business. I don't really want to work for somebody after going through COVID and all that stuff. I want to remind everybody, when we're talking about Gen Z, these kids are born between 1997 and 2012. That's Generation Z. All right. So they're between 11 and 26 years old. And the complaint here is they're not saving for retirement. Those stupid 26-year-olds and 11-year-olds.
11-year-olds.
Half of these people are under 18. So half aren't saving for retirement. Is kind of like, which half are we counting, guys?
Okay, I have to tell you, I didn't even have a job that gave me a retirement savings option through the workplace. I know you could open your own IRA or whatever, but I don't think I had a workplace retirement plan available to me until I was almost that age, actually.
Well, furthermore, you can't even open an investment account, a retirement account, until you're 18. Your parents can for you, but you can't. So, yeah, so this is so stupid getting into it. So these are both financial experts. Granted, neither one of them has any education in finance, but they're financial experts. And they're giving you, the Gen Zers, advice about why you're idiots. Once again, one of these things is not like the other. Two people that work in finance and have for years and have education in it, and two people that don't.
Questions, so little time. Number one, the whole part about until things return to normal. We talked about this a little before the segment, and I'm like, are they talking about the pandemic? Because the pandemic is over.
Okay. Did you know that, Lace? The pandemic's over. It's over. According to who?
Okay, but okay, let's be honest. I have caught myself sort of saying that, and then I always catch myself and say, okay, it's not over. I just mean like we're not in lockdown anymore.
Right.
You know, so I do think people sort of misspeak when they say that. I hope they don't think it's like over.
Well, it's not over. No. The CDC hasn't said it's over. Hundreds of people are still dying every week from COVID. Thousands of people are getting hospitalized every week. It's not like it's over. Okay. It's not as bad as it was, but it's still bad. And you are talking about a pandemic that just for America, because we handled it really poorly. And I've said this before, more people died from this pandemic than we've lost in troops in every single war we've been in as a country. This is the biggest death event in this country's history. And these kids are between 11 and 26. So they're all under 26.
Those morons.
So the oldest ones were, 23 when this really started? A lot of them lost years in college, high school. They lost years of their youth that they're never getting back. I mean, prime years, they're never getting back. And okay, so they want to take some time, and they're a little reluctant to jump in and start investing and doing stuff, right? I think that's reasonable. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing. But to sit there and go, oh, well, wait till things are normal. Well, I don't think they're saying normal and like, oh, well, what like it was in 1922 or 1910 or whatever. They're not saying that. They're just saying when things are more level, right? But it also kills me. The pandemic is over. That's a new one.
To define normal.
What is
normal?
Exactly. What is it?
Well, normal is broke. We know that.
That's true.
Okay.
But they're wanting it like normal.
What does that mean? Normal is broke. Do you know what that means, Lacey?
I think it refers to normal being like the perceived debt addiction or overspending, not having budgets. Like I think.
Well, I think it's a little.
I don't know.
It's a little revealing too, because yeah, the average person does not make a ton of money in this country. There's a huge wealth gap issue, but I don't know what she's getting at with the normal is broke. Like there's some. I know what she's getting at. It's to be abnormal, be like us, watch our show, give us your money, buy our books. Then you'll be abnormal and you won't be broke. You'll be flush. You'll be good. You'll be rich. Right? That's what it is. It's this one of these things is not like another shit. It's the con. Come to our side of the fence, right? Be like us.
To them, I think is everything's great. The economy's perfect. I have a perfect job in the perfect place, and I can afford everything. I don't think that exists.
That is utopian. It 100% does not exist. And let's look at it from this angle. I mean, if you don't view times as normal, if you're still viewing times as, kind of like state of emergency or like crazy inflation, whatever, that's the best time to save, right? Like that's when we should be saving our money. That's when we should be pulling back a little bit. That's not really the time. I don't know. I feel like the
Wow, gosh. And she's a financial expert. That's what kills me. She's not a financial expert, by the way. That's just their title they give themselves. So, markets are in high flux, right? They're unpredictable, right? That's when you should be dumping all your money into the market. Depends, right? Depends. It could be that that's detrimental, right? It could be that that's a bad time to do it. You can't. It's not just things are. You can't just look at it like red light, green light. It's not. There are a lot of other factors going on here. I'll teach you a neat saying that we have in finance, which is baked into the cake, right? And the idea behind baked into the cake is, well, this is happening and that's happening and blah, blah, blah. Is that baked into the market already? Or is that something the market's going to react to soon? Because if it is something the market hasn't reacted to yet, then it's not baked into the cake. So this idea that, look, this is the time to invest is when everything's fucked up. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But there's a lot of other things to factor in. And I think it's just weird that they're jumping right in with, well, no, you should be jumping in right now. There's no analysis here. It's just hyperbole shit. Anyway.
The thought here is a little bit backwards for me, but maybe I'm not a Gen Zer, so maybe I'm missing something.
56% of them put their retirement planning on hold during the pandemic. Which, if you're in a time where you're fearful...
Lacey? You there?
Yeah.
So 56% of people under the age of 23 at the time put their retirement planning on hold. That's a shocking statistic in no way.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm super shocked that high of a percentage of people under that age are doing something with their retirement.
Well,
I literally did not even have access to retirement accounts unless I had opened an IRA myself, which I could have. I didn't know anything about that. But like, as far as workplace retirement accounts go, at that point, college graduates are just barely getting into the workforce in a manner to where they even have access to that. And not all places let you open them immediately. Sometimes you have to have been there a certain amount of time. So I'm surprised it's that high of an amount that can do that.
Well, here's what they didn't, because they never, once again, they never read the article completely, right? Because this article it's the main person they interview is a financial planner, a CFP, and she talks about, well, yeah, it makes sense that they want to do this or invest in these things. They just need to understand what their risk and reward are, which is what a responsible CFP should say. But this is not like a study. This is just anecdotal kind of stuff, right? She does mention sort of loosely in the article, and I went and looked this up, that in general, Gen Z people, right, people under 20, so 18 to 26 right now, that group saves more. And I went and looked this up, and there's a CNBC article, which I will attach below here, where Gen Z kids, on average, save about 14% of their income for retirement, which is higher than any previous generation at their age. So these kids are being the most responsible about saving for their future. More than the millennials, more than Gen Xers, more than the boomers, more than the greatest generation. These kids are the ones doing it the most. And they read one headline that said half of them aren't saving until things are back to normal. And yet, as a whole, they save more than every previous generation. Right? Once again, it comes back to that's the con. Is they don't really know what they're talking about. They're just looking for a headline that they can spew something at you about and say, look, see, we're right. But if you actually read through it, no, everything they're saying is bullshit. Right? The pandemic isn't over. These kids are actually saving more than the average. Right?
And for that young age bracket, why are we judging them so harshly? I mean, obviously, we always want those numbers to be higher of people saving and how much, but we have to stop and give them credit at their age brackets and how many of them are employed within situations that makes that very accessible. You know?
No, but I also see what they're panicking because they grew up through a pandemic.
Right.
They grew up. I mean, these kids, their whole lives, we've been in the two longest wars in this country's history simultaneously. Multiple recessions. I can see where these kids are a little bit like, people that came out of the Great Depression, where it's like, no, you need to save and be prepared and be careful because you never know when it could go away. I think there's a little bit of shell shock here, and I don't think there's a problem with them going, well, hey, we've had the last 3 years we've been locked up and lost, and that was that was our youth. That wasn't like we were in our 50s or our 40s, right? Where it wasn't a big deal. When you're in your 20s and you can't do anything for 2 years, fucking, that's devastating. When you're in your teens, you can't even hardly go see your friends. That's devastating. Yeah, so if they want to take a little break, I don't see the problem, but it's pissing them off. They're angry. They're upset. Because you're not listening to them and giving them your money. That's what it is. It's the big game, the big con.
I feel like saving more money would be beneficial.
That's what I'm saying. You should be saving, and more questions. Again, more questions. Gen Zers. So
they are saving. That's
this young America. I'm thinking, and here's my thoughts here, because I want people to retire, and I want them to invest in their retirement early, because we know that when it comes to investing, time is your friend, right? But it's also making me wonder, like, what, you're investing already? Do you have debt? Are you working the baby steps? Like, there's a way to do this and do it right.
And there it was. Thank you very much, Jade. God, she is so perfect. She is the perfect example of the scone. She is, man. Every time I see her now, she's new, but you should be doing our system. Are you doing our system? If you're doing our system, good for you, because you're going to be rich. That's the way to do it. That's how you need to be saving and doing all this stuff. But if you're not doing our system, well, I don't know. You're kind of an idiot. But that's the game. Do you have anything else on that one? Because that was...
No, that one, it feels so straightforward and kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is part of it is their show and the way it's set up is it's mostly anymore. They mostly get people over 50. Those are the people watching it. It's mostly white evangelicals. They're older, right? They don't have a ton of like young viewers. So the one thing you can always guarantee with older viewers is if that's your demographic, well, let's just shit on the young people. You know, it's the whole bit about, when I was your age, I had to walk to school uphill, both ways, in the snow, barefoot. We didn't have clothes. We had to wear potato sacks.
And we wore bread sacks over our feet to keep our feet dry.
Right. What was the one I loved? Bill Maher, who's kind of a weird guy. I don't want to comment too much on him, but he had this whole thing where he did the old man bit. I think he was on Joe Rogan. Maybe we watched that clip one day because it's funny. Because he talks about these kids today are so weak and they don't care and they're just, they're coddled by their parents. He's like, I remember when I was a kid, I had to ride my bike 5 miles to the dentist to get a cavity filled without Novocaine and then ride my bike back. And these kids today don't understand that. And the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, dude, I know kids that if you told them that story, they'd go, wait, you had a bike and a dentist? And you're bitching?
There are kids that didn't have either.
There are kids that now don't have either. Talking about 20 or 30 million kids are go have food insecurity, go hungry most nights. And you're going to sit there and bitch about, well, I had to ride my bike to the dentist. Okay. What'd your dad do? Was he a rocket scientist? Fucking asshole.